Hey guys, it's October and this is going to be my next video. It's going to be the books that I read in January and February. So there's 10 books that I read during those 2 months, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them, but I'm going to spend a little bit just to give you guys a taste and then move on. Okay, so the first book I read during the month of January was J.R. Ward Bloodkiss. This is a companion to the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, which is still continuing. The Notebook book comes out, I believe, in May. But this one is Paradise's story. She is the daughter of Avalon, I believe. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not. Sorry if I don't say any of these names correctly. But it's her story and how she's trying to join the training regimen to become a soldier in the Black Dagger Brotherhood, because now they are opening their doors for any vampire that is not of fighter blood to join the ranks. So it's a really interesting read. It's really nice to see supporting characters get more limelight or more actual light in the story than just the main cast. Which the main cast is amazing as is, but it's also nice to see some new characters. So yeah, I believe I gave this 3.5 to 4 stars. It's my favorite read of the month. The next book I read is The Ruins of Lace by Iris Anthony. This book is out of my norm for reads. I usually stick to YA contemporary, romance, and fantasy. But I do sometimes slip into adult romance or paranormal romance or erotica. I do slip into that sometimes. But this one is actually a telling of Lace in the 1700s. It's a 4-person view. Sometimes leads into 5, depending on how she split the chapters at that point. But it's a telling of how Lace was banned in the 1700s around Louis XIII's rule, and how these 4 characters' lives are wrapped around lace. There's one that's a lace maker who is going blind and unable to see her lace work and will be thrown onto the streets. Another one is of the lace maker's sister who is trying to save her from that life. The third is of a nobleman who basically his lace gets ruined by a young girl, who is the 4th view, and how her family is losing rank due to her ruining the prince. The prince is lace. And then the 5th view is of the boy that's in love with the girl, and their all lives intertwining during this period of the lace. And it was a really interesting read towards the end. In the beginning of the book, I was kind of bored, but it still piqued my interest that I kept going, and the ending was much better. So I gave this a rating of 3 stars. It was pretty good. I would recommend it if you're more into kind of Victorian stories. Not exactly, really, because it's more so centers around the lace and the families and the people that are affected by the lace at this time, or at least 4 lives that were affected by the lace at this time. The third book I read in January was Bridget Jones's Diary. Sorry about the glare, guys. I was trying to fix the lighting in my room a bit. It's by Helen Fielding. I got this for 25 cents at my bookstore, and I'm a fan of the Bridget Jones's movies. I didn't honestly know there was a book series until I saw it at the bookstore along with the sequel, The Edge of Reason, which I currently have not read yet. This one was a slow read for me just because the writing is much different since it is a British book. And it was just very slow, and I don't know, the pacing was just kind of off for me, I think. I wanted to enjoy this book so bad just because I really do like the movies. But I gotta say, I wasn't thrilled with it. I think I gave this like a 2.5 to 3 stars on my Goodreads. And the only fun part I had with this story was basically reading it in my head, because in my head I had a British accent to go with it. Which is pretty sad if that's the only highlight I can find with reading this book. So I still have the second book. I still want to read it just because I have it, and I don't want to give up that easily. I'm hoping it's better, but I don't know when I'm going to read it. It's not on the top of my reading list. So yeah, Bridget Jones's Diary. It's a good read. Kind of. It's not my favorite. So yeah. The fourth book I read was Hoot by Carl Hiaasen? Hiaasen? I don't know. Hoot is basically an environmental awareness book, I feel at least. It's about this boy who just moves to a new town. He's on the bus getting picked on by a bully, and he sees a young boy run past the line of kids that are getting picked up by the bus. And he centers on the point that the kid is not wearing shoes. So he wants to know what the kid's up to, so he runs off the bus to follow him, and ensues his adventure with the child. It was alright. I was kind of bored. It wasn't exactly my favorite read. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about Who because I just did not enjoy it, really. You're gonna notice that a lot of the books in January, were not my favorite reads because I'm trying to branch out in different genres because like I said, I mainly stay in young adult. So I'm trying to branch out, and my January was hit or miss with a lot of the books. The last book I read in January was Prep, by Curtis Sittenfeld. I enjoyed this book, and I also hated this book. It was very much so a love-hate relationship because of the character Lee. She's the main character. It starts off with her in middle school, end of middle school, and she wants to go to a boarding school because she feels that she'll get a better education. So she puts in for this elite school. What was the name of it? Does it even tell me? Ault, A-U-L-T. So she ends up getting into this school on a scholarship, and it's her time from freshman year to senior year. And she goes through all the normal high school antics of a girl. But what annoyed me the most was her I don't care attitude on everything. She didn't care if she made friends. She didn't care if she passed a grade. She didn't care if she got good grades anymore. Her just fuck it attitude annoyed me to no end. And she did that with her friends too, on her philosophy with making friends in the book. So it was a really good read. I really enjoyed it, but it annoyed me to where I wanted to punch Lee in the face multiple times with the decisions she made and the choices she made. So I get it. It's a girl learning that high school is not the end of your life. There's more to life than the end of high school. And it did it in a really good way. But I feel like she could have made it seem like the character cared a little bit more for her life. But yeah, I gave this a 3.5 to 4 stars. So my favorite read of January was Blood Kiss by J.R. Ward, as I said. So that's all I read in January. Then February was when I found my niche, and all the books were just amazing. So the first book I read in February was If I Stay by Gail Forman. Pretty much everyone has read this book by now. I'm the latest person probably reading this story. So I'm not going to go into much depth because pretty much everyone knows. If you've seen the movie, you know the book's different than the movie, which is awesome. It's about a girl who gets into a car accident, and she's basically watching her body and reliving things from her life and deciding if she wants to stay or if she wants to move on. It's a good story. I really liked it. I'm waiting to see if I can find the sequel in my thrift store because I'm just not that interested in buying the second book new. I'd rather wait to see if I can find it used. But yeah, I really did enjoy it and gave it a 3 stars. The second book I read in February, which is The Jewel by Amy Ewing, I loved the story. I pretty much read it in 2 days because I'm a fast reader, but I'm not really fast. But I just loved how there was different sections in this world they lived in. There's the Jewel, which is the main center where all the rich people live with the politics and everything. And then the outer circles go lesser and lesser in the poverty. So the Jewel is about a girl named Violet, who she has violet eyes. Ooh. She has the power. She's able to work. She lives. Having a hard time explaining this. I'm sorry, guys. So when she turned of teenage years, when she hit puberty, she had a test to see if she had the powers. I want to say. To where if girls show that they're able to move things with their mind or change colors, they are taken away from their families and put into a school-like structure that teaches them to refine their gifts. And then once they're of age or once they're past a certain test, they're taken to an auction where the women in the jewel that reside in the jewel can purchase the girls to where they bear the women's children. Because the women that live inside the jewel cannot have children on their own due to the fact that from marrying only purebreds that live in the jewel, they lost the ability to, or they gave up their ability to have children due to deformities that were arising. So it's Violet's story of how she was purchased at the auction to where she meets boys for the first time when she's of age and has feelings for them in her life, living with her mistress. And it's such an amazing story. I really, really liked it. I'm waiting for the second volume to come out on paperback, which is supposed to, I believe, in August, so that it matches the version I have. So I'm anxiously waiting, and it's hard because I loved it. This was one of my top reads of February. The second book I read in February was Splintered. This is an Alice in Wonderland retelling. It's by A.G. Howard. I really love Alice in Wonderland, and I really do like this retelling, because it's not, dare say, a complete retelling of Alice. The way that she made this world is the main person's name is Alyssa Gardner, I believe, and she is the great-great-granddaughter of Alice Liddell, and Alice's family has a curse put on them due to her being in Wonderland and having ruined certain things in Wonderland from her being there. So Alice's family is torn apart right now because her mother lives in an asylum from hurting Alyssa when she was younger to also having to the fact that she is able to talk to bugs and flowers. And Alyssa herself is able to do that, but she hides it from her father so that he doesn't have her committed and so he doesn't lose his own mind, because right now he's balanced because he wants his wife back, but he also is there for his child. So it's Alyssa's story of how she is able to get to Wonderland and see the differences from Lewis Carroll's story, and how the creatures are so much fluffier and cuter than the actual morbidness of this story, which I love how it's more dark and the characters are so much more vibrant in the story. There's new characters, like there's Alyssa, Jebediah, and Morpheus. Morpheus is my favorite. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this series. I gave this one a 4. I'm currently on the 3rd book of this series, which is the last book of the Splintered series, and then there's a companion novel. So yeah, Splintered. Awesome read. Awesome Alice in Wonderland retelling if you're into that. The 4th book I read in February was Cinder from the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. Pretty much everyone knows about the story. They know this. They know what's it about. It's a fairy tale retelling of Cinderella. I thought it was good. It was not my absolute favorite read of the month. I did buy this next book in the series because it did intrigue me, and I want to know what I like fairy tale retelling, so I want to know what happens next in the next story. But I believe I gave this like a 3 on my thing. It was good, it was interesting, but it was not entirely gripping to me, so I'm hoping the next ones are a lot better. And then the last book I read in the month of February was when I was waiting for Unhinged to come out, which is the second novel in the Splintered series, was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Or Maas. I'm not sure which one is the proper way of saying her last name. I've heard it both ways. But everyone knows this one. It's really big on BookTube right now, and I'm late to the train as well. but I read this so quick. It was so good. I really, really enjoyed it. I've also told a couple of my friends that they needed to read this book because it's just amazing. It's such a quick read, and there's so much action, and the characters are really fun. It was amazing. I gave this 4 stars. So yeah, that's all the books I read in January and February. I really hope you guys like this. If you have any recommendations, I'm up for it. Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. I will talk to you again. Bye.